Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Soup Breakdown. Today we'll be looking at the RX-78XX Gundam Pixy, piloted by Fred Reber, where the Slave Wraith was a DLC suit dedicated to ranged. The Pixy is a DLC suit dedicated to melee, and it is fun. It is fun to play around with the Pixy. We'll talk about whether or not it's worth it as we go in, but to start off, your basic shot is not the submachine gun you've seen me using. That is actually left bumper. Your basic shot is this tossing of the beam blade, the beam knife, which does pretty good damage, honestly. It can be kind of hard to hit with, but it does also stagger, so it sets up perfectly for melee attacks if you can connect with it. The striker is also the beam knife, which is really cool. Beam dagger. And you can, if you don't just regularly fire it, you can actually, if you double tap, you can fire it twice, which is very cool. And as you can see there, then you do quite a bit more damage. It's actually a really functional as a mid-range weapon, even though it's not very good at long range. Then you have the Pixie's submachine gun, as we talked about before, which is very nice. You know, does a good job. Then we have left trigger, which is a charge that gives you hyper armor. It can be canceled out of, but you cannot combo out of it. So what I normally do is, we'll wait for it to come back. What I normally do is I will begin the charge when I'm just about on my enemy, tap back, and then go for a stomp out of the charge, which is very nice. I will go ahead and show the burst because we have it. Burst is a really nice melee burst. Very cool. And then the last of the standard commands is right trigger. What's cool about right trigger is it does not require much at all boost, and so you can use it even when you have almost nothing left to be able to charge forward, and you will basically charge forward until you connect with your enemy or until you release the button. So you can use it as just a quick stab, or you can use it to go in. It does have a timer on it, but as long as you're within mid to short range, which is where you should be with the Pixie, you will basically get a hit in. And what's really cool is you can then combo from there using either a sidestep or going with your left trigger and then, of course, backing off to be able to... Oh. The Pixie is an absolutely insane melee unit. We'll get into its actual melee combos in the second round and whether or not I think it's worth it, but it's so good when it comes to melee. It's almost too good for its cost. Out of 300, it has some crazy options for melee. As you can see there, with the sidestep while double tapping, which allows you to throw the second one while still moving. So as we go into the second round, of course, we ask the question, should you use, and since it's a DLC suit, should you purchase Pixie? Honestly, again, it falls back to if you don't mind spending money on a game that you're probably not going to play online, then yeah, absolutely, I think you should, because the Pixie is a lot of fun to play around with. I think the Pixie is one of the best melee suits in the game. It's not quite on par with, like, the Burning Gundam, but it's so close, and you'll see that as we get into its other melee combos here. Forward melee has a dedicated stun on it. With the forward melee, you can, of course, sidestep out of it after you hit with the first stun to be able to go for an actual combo. Like this, which is very nice. You have side melee, which you saw just a moment ago. You have back melee, which is a stomp. Again, I don't normally use these stomps, like the Exia stomp or others like that, for damage. I normally use them to dodge or to finish off a combo if I know somebody can't get away from it. Especially because it takes quite a bit of boost, but it does look good, and it does quite a bit of damage. Then finally we have standard melee, which is very nice. And when you pair all of this together, what you get with the Pixie is some crazy good combinations that you can pull off just by basically spamming. And if you know how to do it, if you know how to continue the combos, then you're on par with, say, I'd think, an Epion. Now, the Epion can carry a combo forever, but what differentiates the Pixie is that even if you can get away from the Pixie, how long can you get away from the Pixie? Because as you can see here, he's not being able to really get to do anything. And yes, he is a AI, so he's not as aggressive as other players would be. But we are able to go basically from fire to melee to charge to melee and just continue that chain. And I actually prefer that way to the Epions, because at least with this you have a chance if you get caught in the combo to be able to sidestep away yourself. But I like the Pixy quite a lot. With all that said, I have been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. And remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that the Pixy has to offer.